Kurt Cobain, the lead singer of the enormously popular rock band Nirvana, is dead at the age of 27.
There's nothing to be said. It's all in the music, man. It's all in the music. It's all in the meat.
Therefore, interviews are worthless. Let's go.
Identify with and have more of their despair and their hopelessness.
I swear, I don't have a gun.
It's not my fault. I never wanted the fame.
(1991). The music scene was awakening. This year marked a significant shift in the music industry, one that would resonate for decades to come. Grunge was liberated to the world. Then came Nirvana with Kurt Cobain, an unlikely hero. Suddenly, the world was listening. Nirvana's arrival on the music scene was nothing short of revolutionary. Their breakout hit, Smells Like Teen Spirit, was a sonic blast that cut through the remnants of the 80s glam rock era, characterized by its excess, hairspray, and spandex. The raw energy and authenticity of grunge stood in contrast to the polished and often superficial pop that dominated the previous decade. Kurt Cobain, with his simple appearance and deep lyrics, became an unlikely hero for a generation disappointed by the materialism and artificiality of the 80s. Nirvana's music, with its powerful guitar riffs and Cobain's raw vocals, captured the angst and restlessness of youth. In the quiet town of Aberdeen, Washington, on February 20th, 1967. A child was born who would one day echo the sentiments of an entire generation through the strings of his guitar and the depth of his lyrics. Kurt Donald Cobain, a name that would become synonymous with the raw energy and spirit of grunge music, began his journey in life. Cobain's family had a musical background. His maternal uncle Chuck Freidenberg starred in a band called the Beachcombers. His Aunt Maury Earl played guitar and performed in bands throughout Grays Harbor County. And his great-uncle Delbert had a career as an Irish tenor. Kurt was described as being happy and excitable while a sensitive and caring child. From an early age, Kurt exhibited an artistic flair, a vibrant imagination that would often see him retreat into his own world. His childhood was as complex and nuanced as his music. Kurt's early years were filled with the typical joys of childhood, yet they were also shadowed by the challenges that would later shape his future. From the beginning, Kurt exhibited an artistic flair, an innate talent for drawing that hinted at the creative genius that was to bloom. His family recalls a spirited boy whose imagination would often carry him to his own worlds of his creation. It was in these early doodles and daydreams that the seeds of Nirvana's evocative lyrics first took root. Kurt's youthful energy was undeniable and at times overwhelming. Diagnosed as hyperactive, he was prescribed Ritalin, a common treatment at the time. This early encounter with this medication would foreshadow the more serious struggles he would face later in life. Yet, it was perhaps Kurt's profound sense of empathy, an almost spiritual connection to the emotions of others, that truly defined his childhood. He felt deeply, perhaps too deeply, the pain and joy of those around him. This sensitivity, this raw nerve to the human condition, would become the hallmark of his lyrics, a bridge between his soul and the souls of his listeners. Kurt Cobain's childhood was a tapestry of light and shadow, a prelude to the poignant music that would capture the hearts of millions. It was organic, it was complex, and above all, it was real. In the scribbles of a young boy from Aberdeen lay the genesis of a legend, a legacy that would endure far beyond his years. Kurt found his soul in music, an early love that provided both an escape and a form of expression. His discovery of the guitar was a crucial moment, one that offered him a voice when words alone fell short. The divorce of his parents when he was just 9 years old became a pivotal moment in his life, introducing a period of upheaval and emotional distress. This event profoundly affected Cobain, shaping his worldview and later influencing the angst-filled lyrics that would resonate with a generation. The teenage years brought their own set of trials for Cobain. He moved between relatives' homes, occasionally slept under bridges, and grappled with the alienation that often accompanies adolescence. It was during this time that Cobain began to experiment with drugs and engage in petty vandalism. Actions that were less about delinquency and more a cry for help from a young man searching for his place in the world. The genesis of Cobain's musical odyssey can be traced back to 1985 when he formed a rock band named Fecal Matter. This ensemble, albeit short-lived, was the primordial soup from which Nirvana would emerge. Cobain's early recordings with Fecal Matter were a rehearsal of original materials and covers of iconic bands like the Ramones and Led Zeppelin. These tapes, though the band dissolved a year later, were the embryonic stages of what would become the sound of Nirvana. The band was formed in February 1985 and consisted of Cobain on guitar and vocals, Dale Crover on bass, and Greg Hokanson on drums. In December that year, Hokanson left the band. Later that month, Cobain and Crover went to the house of Cobain's Aunt Maury Earl in Seattle with a large book of lyrics and recorded the album Illiteracy Will Prevail on a 4-track. Cobain performed guitar and vocals, while Crover played bass guitar and drums. In January 1986, Buzz Osborne joined on bass and Mike Dillard joined on drums. In August 1986, Fecal Matter disbanded after the members didn't take the band seriously and went on to future projects. Kurt's journey during these early years is a tale of contrasts. By day, he worked as a janitor, a job that, while humble, provided him with the means to survive and the space to dream. It was during these solitary hours, amidst the echoes of empty hallways, that Kurt's thoughts would turn to melodies and lyrics. By night, he returned to his home, whom he shared with his girlfriend, Tracy Marander. Tracy was more than a partner, she was a muse, a supporter, and a witness to Kurt's early work. Their relationship was a complex duet of love and artistic symbiosis. Tracy often worked to support them both and provided a stable foundation upon which Kurt could build his aspirations. It was in this period that Kurt wrote About a Girl, a song that described his relationship with Tracy and his yearning for connection and understanding. Tracy, who took the iconic photo of the cover of Nirvana's debut album, Bleach, remained largely unaware of her role in Kurt's art until much later. This song, like many others from this era, was a product of the environment Tracy helped cultivate, an environment where Kurt could be an artist first and foremost. It's a reminder that in the quiet moments of life, away from the glare of the spotlight, the seeds of greatness are often sown with the simple acts of living, loving, and creating. Theirs was a relationship that, while it eventually ended as Kurt's life took a different trajectory, was instrumental in the early success of Nirvana. Tracy's unwavering support during those years allowed Kurt the freedom to explore his art, to rehearse, and to perform without the burden of financial stress. Without Tracy, the path of Kurt's life might have been markedly different. The reasons behind their breakup are as layered and intricate as the emotions that run through the lyrics of Nirvana's songs. It is said that the strains of their relationship were not due to a lack of love, but rather Cobain's relentless pursuit of his artistic vision, which often left little room for the practicalities of daily life. Cobain's reluctance to engage in traditional employment and share in the mundane responsibilities of their shared life placed a burden on Miranda, who shouldered much of their domestic life. Moreover, Cobain's growing struggles with substance abuse and his connection with Toby Vale, whom he met in 1990, added further strain to their relationship. The emotional stress and the diverging paths of Cobain and Miranda eventually led to their separation. Kurt Cobain often frequented the local music scene. It was in this vibrant yet modest environment that he first encountered Chris Novoselic. In 1987, after months of jamming and experimenting with different sounds, Kurt and Chris officially formed a band. They went through several drummers before settling on Chad Channing, solidifying the early lineup of Nirvana. Nirvana's journey from local band to international sensation was a rapid one. Their first album, Bleach, released in 1989 under the Sub Pop label, presented a raw sound that blended punk rock's energy with melodic hooks. This was the dawn of Nirvana's Bleach era, a period that would introduce the arrival of a band that was not just a musical entity, but a spiritual force. It was a raw, unfiltered expression of emotion and angst that captured the spirit of a generation, searching for meaning and identity. The album, recorded at Reciprocal Recording in Seattle, Washington, was a combination of intense sessions that lasted from December 1988 to January 1989. Bleach was more than just an album. It was a statement, a manifesto of youth disillusionment. The album's title itself suggested a purging, a cleansing of the soul. Songs like About a Girl and A Negative Creep were not just tracks to be heard, they were experiences to be felt. Each chord and lyric, a brushstroke in a larger picture of human emotion and spiritual longing. Nirvana's music was a beacon for those adrift in the sea of life, a lighthouse guiding the lost back to shore. The Bleach era was just the beginning of this journey. It was a time when music was not just heard, but felt. Not just played, but lived.
We play a very powerful, high-energy type of rock and roll. We move around on stage a lot and just scream with an abandon, I guess.
In the early 1990s, the recording of Nevermind was a period of intense creativity and transformation for Kurt Cobain. It was a time when he was struggling with the pressures of impending fame, the expectations of a growing fan base, and his own artistic vision. As the band began to work on the album, creative tensions emerged. Cobain and Novoselic felt discouraged by Channing's drumming, which did not align with the new direction they envisioned for their music. Channing, feeling isolated from the songwriting process, decided to part ways with Nirvana. The relationship between Chad Channing and Kurt Cobain, while professional at its core, was also marked by a shared journey through the formative years of Nirvana. Channing's contributions to the band were significant, and his drumming on tracks like Polly from the Nevermind album remains a testament to his role in the band's history. Despite the creative differences that led to his departure, Channing had no ill feelings. He recognized that his path with Nirvana was a piece of a larger puzzle, one that required a different piece to move forward. After Channing's departure, Nirvana would go on to recruit Dave Grohl, whose dynamic drumming style became a key element of the band's explosive sound on Nevermind, an album that revolutionized the music scene and catapulted Nirvana to international fame.
We went to see this band in San Francisco called Scream, and Kurt and Chris saw the drummer, listened to him for a while, and they said, "Wow, we wish we could get a drummer like that." And the funny thing was, a short time later, just maybe a few days or a week, the word got around that he was available because that band had broken up on the road and everyone had gone home. And so, sight unseen, they called him, and he had heard of Nirvana, so Nirvana was pretty well known by then, so it was a good opportunity for him.
I had a couple of conversations with Kurt where we just talked about music, and he wanted to know what kind of music I was into, and I listened to everything. I listened to everything from Public Enemy to Neil Young to the Bad Brains, and we actually shared we had a lot in common musically in the bands that we loved. We loved punk rock, but we also loved Creedence Clearwater Revival, and we loved Slayer as much as we loved Public Enemy. And so it seemed like things were gonna work.
The recording of Nirvana's album Nevermind was in the spring of 1991. The band entered Sound City Studios in Van Nuys, California, a place where the walls were steeped in the echoes of rock legends. Here, in this almost sacred space, Nirvana, along with producer Butch Vig, embarked on a creative journey that would not only define their careers, but also leave an indelible mark on the music landscape. For Kurt Cobain, it was a deeply personal journey. Cobain, with his piercing insight and unfiltered emotions, poured his soul into every chord and lyric. The recording sessions were not just about laying down tracks, they were about capturing the essence of authenticity. Cobain's perspective on the album was complex. He saw Nevermind as a departure from Nirvana's punk roots, a polished production that flirted with the mainstream he often disdained. He even expressed embarrassment about its success and sound, comparing it to a Motley Crue record, a far cry from the punk rock ethos he held dear. Yet, despite his reservations, Nevermind became a defining work of his career, a masterpiece that melded pop sensibilities with grunge's gritty edge. Cobain's life during this time was a whirlwind. Despite the tight schedule of recording and touring, he was a man focused on his work, constantly writing and reworking songs. The band had a relentless drive, and Cobain was at the helm, steering Nirvana's sound into uncharted territories. The album's iconic tracks, from the anthemic Smells Like Teen Spirit to the haunting Something in the Way, were a canvas for Cobain's introspection and rebellion. He drew inspiration from diverse influences, from the raw power of the Pixies to the subversive energy of Riot Girl and Sex Pistols. Each song was a piece of a larger narrative, a reflection of Cobain's inner world and the tumultuous society that shaped him. The sessions at Sound City were intense and productive, with the band laying down track after track. The studio itself was a crucible, melting down the essence of grunge, punk, and rock into a new form that resonated with the spirit of the times. The album's recording was not just about capturing sound, it was about capturing a feeling, a zeitgeist. It was about the frustration and alienation that many young people felt, and it was about channeling that into something powerful, something that could not be ignored. As we look back on Nevermind through the lens of history, we see not just the legacy of a musical milestone, but also the personal odyssey of Kurt Cobain. It was a journey marked by brilliance and torment, by the quest for artistic purity in an industry often driven by commercialism. Cobain's perspective on the album was a reflection of his complex relationship with fame and his unwavering commitment to his art. Nevermind remains a testament to the power of music to articulate the inarticulable, to express the deepest emotions, and to connect with people across time and space. It is a reminder that at the core of every cultural phenomenon are the personal stories of those who create it, stories that resonate with honesty and intensity. For Kurt Cobain and for many who found a piece of themselves in Nevermind, the album was not just a collection of songs, it was an expression of the soul. It spoke of anti-establishment views, anti-sexism, and troubled love, all inspired by Kurt Cobain's own life experiences. The album's diversity showcased the band's range and unwillingness to be pigeonholed. The success of Nevermind was astronomical, propelling Nirvana from the outskirts of the Seattle music scene to the world. It knocked pop royalty off the charts and became the soundtrack for those who felt misunderstood by the mainstream. The album's impact was such that it shifted the entire trajectory of rock music, signaling the end of one era and the beginning of another. The recording process was not without its challenges. Cobain's vision for the album was clear, but realizing it required navigating the tension between artistic integrity and commercial expectations. The band was aware that Nevermind had the potential to be something special, but no one could have predicted the success that would follow its release. The album's lead single, Smells Like Teen Spirit, became an anthem, and Nevermind a manifesto for a generation. As we reflect on the recording of Nevermind, it is not just the technical details or the jokes of the studio that we remember. It is the feeling that the music evokes, the sense of being part of something larger than ourselves. It is the realization that music can indeed change the world, one chord at a time. And as the last notes of Something in the Way fade out, we are left with a sense of awe, a recognition of the power of art to express the inexpressible and to touch the divine within us all. The success of Nevermind would bring fame, fortune, and its own set of complications.